Hi there, and welcome back to our channel. In this video, we're going to take you to the wonderful land of Crete, the largest of the Greek islands. So this summer, we flew from our home country to Chania and spent 10 delightful days there. We rented a car and traveled around the region of Chania all the way to Rethymno. So in total, we drove around 600 kilometers or 373 miles, and we enjoyed every moment of our trip. Well, most of them, apart from the adrenaline-inducing cliff roads, which are spectacular, but I'm not very fond of them. Our first day was all about relaxing. We met our hosts who proved to be amazingly welcoming all throughout our trip. Thanks, Andreas and Nikos. During our second day, we started exploring Chania. We drove to Akrotiri Peninsula, and the first stop was Agia Triada Monastery, or the Holy Trinity Monastery. It was built in the 17th century on the site of an old church. And voila, this is it. The monastery is quite charming, as it's well kept and the overall atmosphere is serene. Well, as it's the case with most monasteries. Now, we heard that you could also visit the cellar and sample some olive oils, wine and raki, all for free. Of course, you can purchase them if you want. However, due to the time constraints, we carried on with our trip. We stopped to pet some cats, of course, since we missed our own from home. And then we were off, driving through mountains and more mountains. So we stopped to see a place called Catholicon Gorge, and we also saw this church that was being rebuilt. Enjoyed the breeze and saw this beautiful, spectacular view. But we never actually got to Catholicon Gorge because the road was closed, unfortunately, and we weren't able to walk there. So this was all we were able to see, but it was a pretty rewarding view. Back through the mountains and alongside the coastline to reach Seitan, Limania. This is a gorgeous beach nestled in a canyon that leads out to the sea. Now, we admired it from a rather safe distance as we were not equipped with hiking boots. That's right, hiking boots. You see that road over there? That's the way to the beach, so come prepared. I suppose sneakers would work as well, but definitely not slippers, and that was all we had at the time.
Very nice.
Now, let's go to safer grounds in Chania town. The city was absolutely bustling with life. There were shops, restaurants everywhere, chariots, and for those of us wanting to practice arithmetics, there was an abacus as well. All in all, there's the old Venetian harbor, the marketplace, the lighthouse. There's plenty to do and see there as well. But more on that a bit later in the video when we will return to Chania for another visit. time for another full day of driving. So the following day we were off to explore some more. From Chania to Georgioupolis, Kournas Lake, Argyroupolis, Rethymno, and then back home. The hotel. So, our first stop was Georgioupolis. It's a fishing village that's home to a few resorts, but we weren't there for the resorts or the hotels. Although some of us enjoyed their hammocks. But we were there to see the chapel of Agios Nikolaos, the patron saint of the sailors. There's a stone path in the sea leading right to the chapel, but again, we watched it from a safe distance because the waves were quite big that day. I know it doesn't seem that way, but just trust me with this, will you? And next we were off to Kournas Lake, the only freshwater lake in Crete. Bear in mind, there aren't enough sunbeds for the amount of visitors you'll see there. And in terms of activities, you can rent some pedal boats, feed some geese, and apparently there are also some turtles that you can spot there as well. We didn't see them, but we spent around 2 hours and a half there and had great fun. Then we left to Argyroupolis, a village that was somewhere in the mountains, where we had a fantastic lunch at the local tavern. They served us some pretty large portions, at least larger than what we had expected, so we had a bit of a laugh with the waiter since not everything we ordered fit on the table. I mean, look at those salads. This was definitely a lunch that we had to walk off. Our last stop for the day was in Rethymno. The city has a lot to offer, but for us it was just a quick stop after a full day of traveling. We saw the Venetian fortress, which is quite impressive because of its size and of the great views it offers over the city and the sea. The tickets cost 4 euros per person or 10 euros per family, and we would definitely recommend visiting it early in the morning or later in the afternoon when it's not as hot. We walked around Rethymno for a bit, and we would definitely recommend spending at least a full day there, as there are plenty of taverns, restaurants, and other attractions to see. And for sure, you wouldn't want to be rushed in such a beautiful city.
I was also part of this story, so let me tell you about the following 2 days. If day 5 was all about relaxing, on day 6 we took a boat to Gramvousa and Balos. We bought tickets from the port of Kissamos and left at around 11 am. The first stop was at Gramvousa, where you could either cool off in the crystal clear sea or climb to the Venetian fort. We chose to see the fort, however, it's not an easy climb in that scorching heat, so make sure to have water on you and to wear sandals or comfy shoes. The hike was worth it. Once again, when we reached the top, our prize was a great view of the sea. We spent about 20 to 30 minutes there, enjoying the view and taking some great pictures, as well as exploring the remains of this amazing fort. We also had about 15 minutes to swim and cool off. Next, we were off to Balos Lagoon. If you take a boat there, you'll most likely face the same issue with it. It's overcrowded. But we expected that, so we rented two sun umbrellas from the boat since there was no chance of finding a free sunbed. You can also go there by car, but you'll have a 30 minutes walk to get there, and that won't make it easy on your way back. I personally didn't like it there despite the place being known for its pink sands. Comfy, right? When we got back in Chania, we treated ourselves to some delicious ice cream.
On the 7th day, we wanted to see Elafonisi beach and decided to stop at Agia Sophia on our way there, since we had to cross the island from north to south anyway. Agia Sophia is almost midway between the two. It's a nice cave and you have to climb around 260 steps to access it. There is a small chapel inside, and on your way back down you can stop for refreshments at the local tavern. I think it was called Romanza Tavern, but I'm not sure. Next, Elafonisi beach, a really popular tourist destination, so as you can imagine it was packed. We got a nice tip from the hotel manager and found a quieter spot on the beach, but we did have to bring our own umbrella though. It's a truly stunning beach, famous for the pinkish sand and the shallow water, but I would try to walk away from the really crowded areas just so that you avoid any tourist traps. The water was also really calm, so we took advantage of that and did a bit of snorkeling. Next, we went to Christos Kalitissa Monastery, which is very close to Elafonisi, just 5 kilometers away. The monastery stands on a 35-meter high rock, and the name means golden step, which, according to the legend, is one of the 98 stairs that was gold, but only those with a pure heart could see it. You can also walk around the monastery and admire the beautiful view of the sea. Close to the monastery, there is a hidden gem mostly known by locals, the White Lake Beach. It's quite a drastic change of atmosphere from Elafonisi, since it's very quiet at the lake and there aren't any facilities. The final couple of days on the island were all about slowing down the pace and relaxing. We went to a beach called Afrata, and it's mostly a beach that's visited by locals. It's small but really quiet, and you just get that very laid back atmosphere. And I'll just let the images speak for themselves. We had a really great time and we did some snorkeling, and overall it was just such a relaxing day.
Is it too much to ask? Is it too much to wonder? I'll be here waiting. I'll be here waiting, waiting.
After spending the next morning at our hotel's pool, we drove to Chania to explore it during daytime as well. And our first stop was at the 3D museum and a 9D cinema, where we learned about the Minoan culture and history.
I'll be here waiting, waiting.
After that fun, informative experience, we carried on walking around Chania, and we stopped at a restaurant that caught our eye, which was in an old house. It was very interesting. It looked like the restaurant was set in the ruins of an old house, and yeah, we found that really appealing, so we decided to stay there and have lunch. We couldn't end the video without dedicating a portion of it to our hosts, the hotel where we stayed. It's called Kedrisos, and our hosts, the two brothers, Andreas and Nikos, who were running the place, were just absolutely amazing. We had a great time, and honestly, part of why we loved our vacation so much was the fact that we had a great time and we felt very welcome. Thank you very much for watching. We hope our videos will guide you when you plan your next great vacation.